Hey, you guys. Welcome to day 11. So today is 11/11, November 11th, 2022. So hopefully you have taken some time to do some manifestation or spell work or whatever you want to call it. But today's tag for the hashtag Neo Pagan November is my favorite, my whole world divination. So, yeah, I just decided, you know what? After watching, the Sunshine State, which is she was making up for 2 days. And so she did some spell work with her Spellcrafters Tarot, which I love. And I've got that deck up here. But I thought, let's maybe do a little reading for everybody. So this is a reading that we're going to be doing with my first ever divination tool, which is the original Mythic Tarot. And I purchased my first deck in 1996, 1997, somewhere around there. I was like 18. And I did watch, gosh, I'm having a hard time remembering everybody's name. She was talking about a really cool book called The Complete Book of Fortune Telling, which, by the way, I am going to be looking for because I want that book. Oh, I have to show you guys my shirt too. It says my crystal ball tells me that you're full of shit. Can you see it? Full of shit. My crystal ball tells me that you're full of shit. So I even have my divination shirt on. I also run a divination group on Facebook called Oracle Obsessed. But we discuss all types of divination, tarot, oracle, pendulum, Lenormand, any kind of scrying. Here's my pendulum board. My first, and really basically my only pendulum. I had a kind of a special story about this. I went to an amazing crystal store that's in my area that had all these beautiful pendulums to choose from. And this one, you can't tell, but the chain was all rusty and still is. And there just wasn't really anything special about it. And it's just a clear quartz pendulum. And it's got like a blue crystal up here, but I can't even tell which one it is. It was like, pick me, pick me, pick me. So this is my pendulum. And I use a pendulum board every once in a while. I'll be honest though, you guys, because this is my full-time job. So for people that are newer to who I am a full-time professional psychic hotline reader. I have worked on the psychic hotline since Valentine's Day of 2019, and it's my full-time job. I also coach other people who want to go pro. I am currently working on 3 different hotlines, but I have worked on up to 14, I think I'm at this point. I like to add new ones all the time, even if I'm not like super happy on them. I like to apply and work just so that when I'm coaching other people, you know what's available, you know the pros and cons out there. So I read tarot all day, every day. You guys, I have done well over 15,000 readings in the past almost 4 years. I live, eat, breathe, drink divination. And that's amazing. But also at the same time, I find that I don't use it for myself as much anymore. Because like if you do something for a job, like people that cut hair, when they get home, it's not like they're dying to cut somebody's hair. Like I will say there's pros and cons of doing what you're passionate about as a career. So with that said, we are going to do a little divination and a little reading for today's very auspicious energy, 11/11/2022, using the Mythic Tarot. And we're just going to start with, I usually do 3 card spreads. There's our first card, the World. So this is going to be for anybody who's watching this. There's no such thing as time and space. So even if you find this video 6 months from now or 3 years from now, it was meant for you. This message is meant for you. So we are starting with the World, which is a very, very lucky and amazing card. This one, I haven't worked with this deck for a very long time. So even though I have like so many decks, I honestly really only read with a standard RWS deck. This is my Centennial. I've got different versions of it on my desk because I like to have several of the same type of deck available. That way, if I need to ask multiple of a question with multiple outcomes, I'll pull from like separate decks, but I like to have them be similar. So that's why I like to just use a standard RWS. But then I love to collect tarot. So anyway, I haven't even looked or glanced at this deck for a very long time. So the imagery is, first of all, standing out to me, kind of giving magician vibes, because you've got the pentacle. You've got the pentacle, the cup, the sword, and the wand. So you've got all of those tools and those elements that you started with as a magician. And you've got the I always say it wrong because the Aurora Borealis is like the lights. Ouroboros. The Ouroboros, which represents cyclical. Time is cyclical. Everything is cyclical. Once a beginning is an end and an end is a beginning, right? So finishing up cycles, and we are in the last 2 months of the year. So, 2022 has flown by like so fast. And, generally this is a card of success and victory. It can represent travel, and it can represent like world travel type things, but overall very good cards. We're starting with the World. So mostly what I feel just, is how we're closing out this cycle of this year. And just maybe today on this day, asking yourself, what other cycles can you be closing out to make room for what you want to be creating in 2023, right? Our next card is the Ace of Pentacles. You guys, really is a lucky energy today. I personally did some money workings, and I made more money today than I have made in a few weeks. The economy is really getting to people, and money is tight. And so this is a great card to see for myself as well as everyone else. In this, so in the Mythic Tarot, we're working with the Greek pantheon. So we've got Poseidon here coming out of the water with this giant pentacle. I look at the aces because traditionally in the RWS, you're going to see the hand coming out of a cloud, and the ace will be holding the pentacle. The ace of pentacles holding the pentacle, the cup's holding the cup. But it's basically like, here, you've asked for this, here it is. So I'm taking this as a personal affirmation that the workings that I did earlier today, not that I needed that validation, because I have had a very successful day. By the way, I need to turn off my availability so I don't get a call, because I don't want to have to really do too much editing. So Ace of Pentacles. So if you did any workings on the eclipse or today, specifically relating to new business opportunities, new money, new energy when it comes to abundance, then this is a validation that that is coming for you and for me and for anybody watching this video. So that is an amazing energy to get. What else do we have for the collective? Anybody that will be watching this message? The Sun. You guys, this is such a good reading. This is such a good reading. The Sun, you guys. Happiness, joy. Another kind of, it denotes victory in its own way too. But I also look at the Sun as the solar cycle or the solar year that we're in. So again, 2022, like as we go through and get closer to the holidays, and we start to reflect over the last year, and just, again, like, you guys, the world is crazy, but if you really look, life is so good. Life is so good. Don't let all this other bullshit convince you of anything else, because it's so good. I kind of want to look up and look who this god is. Is that Midas? Is that Midas? Let's grab the book. Of course I know what the Sun means, but I want to know, I think that's Midas, which Midas is like also a sign of abundance, right? So the Sun. Here's the book. The card of the sun portrays a classically handsome, beautifully proportioned man with golden hair, crowned with laurel leaves, and bearing on his head the golden disc of the sun. Okay, that's great, but I want to know who this is. Apollo. Because he's got his arrow and a harp. I don't know. You would think because this was the first tarot deck that I bought that I would have studied mythology, and I really haven't. And I never learned tarot on this deck. So even though this was the first deck that I got. Oh, and that reminds me why I was talking about that other witch. The other witch, she's so cute, and I can't remember her channel's name, but she was talking about the complete book of fortune telling, and she was talking about how there's the taboo about buying your own first tarot deck, that you're supposed to be gifted it. I thought that too, but then I looked around my life and went, I live in Utah amongst a bunch of Mormons. For the love of God, nobody's ever going to buy me a deck. So I went ahead and bought my first deck, but I did not learn tarot until really like 6 years ago. I took a course, and I tell a whole story about how I tried to learn on this deck, blah, blah, blah. And until I finally got my hands on a regular RWS, that is when the tarot finally clicked and I could learn. But anyways, so I'm not really that familiar with Greek mythology. And as far as the deities that I work with for any magic or I work with Egyptian, I work with Hindu and angels, really, for now. You know, that could change, but so anyway, it looks like it is Apollo. So it says, here we meet the radiant sun god Apollo, the gentleman of Olympus and lord of prophecy, music, and knowledge. His nickname was Phoebus, which means the brilliant. And in the myth, he delighted in the heights of the mountain peaks. He was the son of Zeus by Leto, the goddess of the night. Unlike other children, Apollo was not nourished on his mother's milk. He was fed nectar and sweet ambrosia, and immediately the newborn baby threw off his swaddling clothes and was endowed with manly vigor. He set forth with a bow and far-shooting arrows with the smith god Hephaestus, that the smith god Hephaestus had made for him, seeking a place for his sanctuary. But the place he chose was a mountain gorge, which formed the lair of the vicious female serpent Python, a beast sent by Hera out of jealousy to destroy Apollo's mother Leto. The god killed the python with one of his arrows, crowned himself with the sacred laurel, which I just learned from one of you guys. I'm already learning so much from this series. I learned that laurel is the same thing as bay leaf, and I didn't know that, and I love to work with bay leaf, but I didn't know that laurel was bay leaf. So whenever you see a laurel crown in the tarot, that is bay leaf, and we know that when you burn bay leaf, you know, you can do a lot of manifestation and luck and abundance with bay leaf as well. So I digress. And he crowned himself with sacred laurel and called his new sanctuary Delphi. At the shrine of Delphi, he established his oracle, spoken by a priestess who became known as Pythoness. Meanwhile, he left Delphi every year in the autumn. How cool that we're talking about divination and we get a card talking about the oracle of Delphi. And this isn't the card you would think, because you would think maybe with the high priestess or, you know, Queen of Cups or Queen of Wands, but that's really cool. So he left Delphi, and every year in the autumn, which we're in right now, and traveled to the mysterious land of the Hyperboreans, where he could enjoy an eternally bright sky. Apollo was the enemy of all darkness and could lift from men the curse of blood guilt and the toils of sorrow. But he was a tricky deity, for his oracle was double-tongued and elusive, and his arrows could slay not only monsters but also men. Thus he was the god of sudden death, as well as being a healer who drove away illness and shadows. Prophecy, normally the gift of the underworld deities, was gradually appropriated by Apollo until he himself became the embodiment of far-reaching vision. So that is so interesting that in this version of the sun, it is much more about divination than the not traditional, but the RWS meaning of the sun, which is more, again, happiness, joy, so on and so forth. That's so cool. On an inner level, Apollo, the sun god, is an image of the power of consciousness to disciple the darkness. Like Hecate, who under the name of Artemis was Apollo's twin sister in myth, the god personifies something greater than one's individual capacity to gain knowledge and insight. Apollo is an image of the urge toward consciousness which exists in all life, and therefore he is the natural complement and antithesis to Hecate. Through many long centuries and through the rise and fall of many cultures and civilizations, and the thrust towards knowledge and the craving for freedom from the bondage of dark, unknown nature has driven humankind towards impressive, although dangerous heights. Apollo represents the spirit of intellectual striving, combined with a vision of the future, which encompasses an ideal of perfection. Thus, the fool's encounter with Apollo, the sun god, brings him the hope and clarity of daylight after the long night of waiting in the womb of Hecate. Through many trials and losses, the fool has maintained his goal and his integrity. But the card of the moon is a dark place where, although the end of the journey is near, the fool has lost both his confidence and his power of action. But Apollo is the dispeller of fear, and his bright light casts away any shadows. The shadows of the moon are like the night fears of childhood, where we feel small and unimportant in the face of the vastness of the unknown, threatened by gigantic shapes that loom in the darkness. Apollo is an image of that hope and faith which spring not from any one person's striving, but from all of us, a human inheritance of nobility and determination which can restore the fool's faith in himself. Because it is also a faith in the meaningfulness and purpose of the human journey. The card of the sun symbolizes that indomitable spirit that has always struggled against superstition. I'm having the worst, anxiety, but I'm in a really good mood today, but I'm having my heart is racing. It's kind of crazy. Hold on. I had a piece of, here it is. This is a piece of betrayal hematite. It usually grounds me really well, but I'm going to try this garnet. I feel like, there's a lot of energy. Sorry about that. The card of the sun symbolizes that indomitable spirit that has always struggled against superstition, helplessness, ignorance, and bondage to fatalism and despair. It is this spirit which battles with the serpent Python, the embodiment of negative power, of blind instinct, and primitive fear. Apollo's music also lifts us out of ourselves, for music speaks with a transformational voice, crossing cultures and centuries and embodying human tragedy and triumph. Thus, Apollo is a great deity, represented by all of the gods, and even the Moirai, I'm not sure how I'm pronouncing that, Moirai, Moirai, were once made subject to his will. Although only once, but the sun god too is ambivalent, for too much light too soon can kill. Wow, that is important. Too much light too soon can kill if knowledge is premature and destroys the necessary time and darkness for things to gestate. Therefore, the card of the sun follows after the card of the moon. The burning heat of the sun can scorch, for it does not respect nature's laws. Thus, Apollo in myth was often rejected in his advances towards women, for his light was sometimes too bright. And isn't that so true how a lot of women want that bad boy type energy, right? Well, a lot of women and men want that bad boy type in a man. On a divinatory level, the card of Apollo, the sun god, augurs a time of clarity, optimism, and renewed trust. It is possible to understand the pattern, to plan for the future, to move forward. The curses of the night are dispelled, and the fool is now armed with foresight, purpose, and a faith in the striving human spirit. Thus, he encounters that great masculine principle in life, working through both men and women, which moves forward towards the goal. So that was unexpected, but you guys, as a reading for the collective, I cannot tell you how amazing this is. 2 major arcana cards, both of them amazing, and then right in the middle, the Ace of Pentacles. So I do hope that this reading gets to most of you, because I want you to be able to claim it. I know you don't have to type claim it, and it is cheesy, but I would appreciate some more likes and comments, just because I'm trying to get the algorithm to pick up my channel. I'm starting to think, because I've had a channel for so long and I'm not very active, I'm wondering if I need to start a brand new channel from scratch to get some momentum, because I just kind of feel like I'm doing it for nothing. I know that's not true, but you ever get that feeling where you're like, why? I appreciate the people that are following me and comment and are loyal, and I don't want to feel like you guys are amazing. And if you are the only people that ever watched this, that would be enough for me. But I'm wondering, and I wonder if anybody here that knows YouTube better than me knows, do you think I should start a new channel? But anyways, if this reading resonates with you, type claim it, or any other experiences or comments that you want. If you haven't already subscribed, I really would truly appreciate your subscription. And I hope you have an amazing 11/11. You still have time to make another wish tonight at 11:11 p.m. So we will see you guys tomorrow for day 12. Bye-bye.